Today we are back outside to do a little maintenance on my side garden, specifically to do some work with the trellis that the tomato plants are growing on. As you can see, it's sort of outgrown the trellis that I put up several weeks ago, and rather than buy some new lattice work, I am going to use some old wire hangers to sort of jury rig a second tier. This is from my own mind. I don't know if it'll work, but we will learn that together. And then at the end, I'll show you a little bit more of how the garden is doing. Some good and some not so good. But first, let's get to that trellising. Now I am going to take the hook that I have here on one end, latch it onto the back side of one of the V's, and then take the loose end and again work around the back side and tuck it under another V. And what this does is gives me a little bit of a shelf for the tomato plants to hang on. So I'm going to do that with the rest of these, and then I will take zip ties to each end just to secure them and make sure they don't come off. Okay, the wire hangers are up, and now I will do my best to carefully lace the tomato plants throughout. Okay, that is certainly a lot better. It's not ideal, not by any means. But again, I'm going to zip tie those ends just to make sure they stay secure. And we'll see what happens with it. You know, next year, if I do this garden again and I plant tomatoes, I do plan to have a better trellising system, maybe double the height of the trellis or use a different type of trellis. We're going to just see where we end up this year. I already see some little tomatoes developing on the vines, which is great. So speaking of that, let me show you a little bit of the garden and what's growing and what has not grown. Okay, here's a yellow squash plant. I think it's actually two plants. And this has really done well. I'm quite surprised, actually. I don't know what to do with it exactly because it's growing a lot, but I thought it would grow out. And it's just kind of grown up and then flopped over. So I don't know if I will be trellising that or what. If any of you guys have suggestions about what I should do with the yellow squash plant, please let me know. And you know, I'm certainly willing to try anything. Spinach has done absolutely nothing. The green onions, I don't know if you can see the little sign there. They've done absolutely nothing. Now, what's done really, really well are the plants, or I'm sorry, the pepper plants. I've got a mixture of green peppers and different types of hot peppers here, and they've done so well. I can't believe it. Again, I've already seen blooms on these, and I think those are little pepper plants that are starting to form. So I expect to have a bumper crop of chili peppers and green peppers. And then, of course, we've got all these tomato plants. And these are a mixture of, you know, the big traditional heirloom type tomatoes. I think I've got one Roma tomato plant in here and then a couple cherry tomatoes. I do have labels on the back side of the lattice, which you can't really see. And then lastly, I have some green bean plants, which are, I mean, look, I've got this little tiny green bean here, which is great. So they are producing, although they're very small. So I want to stress with the garden that it's been a learning experience for me. This is the first time I've grown a larger scale garden aside from container gardens. So it's been a learning experience. How do I keep the deer away? How do I feed the garden? How often do I have to water it? What kinds of plants grow well and which ones don't? So I'm not expecting this to be perfect, and it's not perfect. But again, that's all part of the process, right? We live and we learn, and we try to do better next time. Let me show you quickly the container garden, because that's been a bit of a surprise as well. Here we are at the container garden, and as a reminder, I planted 4 things here. I planted beets, carrots, sweet basil, and parsley. And a few weeks after planting them, just as everything was starting to sprout, I had critter issues. I had problems with squirrels or chipmunks getting in my garden, and they were digging up the seeds and making a general mess of everything. So, what happened was that some of the plants, of course, got eaten, but mostly they just got jumbled up. So, my nice rows of plants became kind of a melange of plants. Now, you can see that I'm going to get at least one beet here. I'm sorry, right here. One beet, and the associated greens, it's doing really well. I've got several carrots that will come out of the garden soon, and that makes me very happy because I love carrots. And the parsley is doing really well on the end here. Everything is so green and vibrant. And the basil, I actually harvested some of this basil yesterday and put it on a margarita pizza. So, everything in here that's grown has done really, really well. And if it continues to do well, this is something that I will certainly do again next year, and maybe take a little bit more care to make sure it doesn't get dug up by the critters. And that's a wrap for today. We went over my homegrown trellis idea, and how I took old wire hangers and used those to create another tier of trellis on top of my existing lattice work for the tomatoes. I showed you an update on both the side garden and the container garden here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll link another one here for you to take a look at. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on our next adventure.